On the evening of April 3rd, 40 years ago, back in 1968, most Washingtonians were doing what most Washingtonians are doing tonight. Trying to make a buck, seeing to dinner, heading home, all the mundane things we do every day, sometimes the mindless things. What they couldn't know back then is that what would unfold on the next day, on April 4th, would change them and this city forever. Tom Sherwood is here now with a report on then and now. Tom?
Jim, to some, the riots of 40 years ago seem very far away, but to others, it seems like yesterday.
Stores, windows were broken, fires were going off, rocks were being thrown at the police. It was quite a mess. The police were pretty rough with folks who they thought were out of line, but there was no stopping it. I mean, there really was no stopping it. People were just so incredibly angry.
Tony Gittins runs the city's highly touted Arts and Humanities Commission. But in 1968, he was a senior student leader at Howard University, already mired in civil rights tensions, and then the King murder.
First of all, we're incredulous. We're totally incredulous.
A 1968 map preserved by the D.C. Archivist Office details the destruction that swept 14th Street for several days, causing millions in damage to white and black businesses. Then Mayor Walter Washington appealed for calm. The National Guard and Army troops, like in other cities, were called in to help quell the violence.
I had torn conflicts. I mean, I had the fact that there was rage in me. I saw that, but I was in the Army, and that's what my job was. African American.
Paul Devereaux Jr., now a well-known architect, his firm Devereaux and Purnell helped design the city's new ballpark. It's architect of record for the planned King Memorial at the Tidal Basin. But in 1968, Devereaux was an Army sergeant among the troops sent into the city.
There was a lot of rage. There were houses and buildings burning all around us, and it was just that sense of rage.
Although many troops were white, Devereaux says some citizens greeted black soldiers warmly.
They were buying fried chicken and greens and all that good southern cooking. Yeah, and it was good too.
Now, after decades of decay, 14th Street 40 years later is gentrifying with new shops and new buildings and new condos and new 21st century commerce. The Kitchen Store Home Rule opened in 1998, the first business to occupy the space since the riots 30 years ago. Its broken glass preserved at a counter.
There was a lot of pieces that had color and paint and a lot of old things. There's this old Canada Dry, Coca-Cola, and the fact that it was broken during the riots and it had all this history to it, I just couldn't throw it away. So
Greg Link says despite some fears of gentrification, longtime residents welcomed him.
I'll never forget one time when a lady that came in from the neighborhood, you know, she just grabbed my hand and she just thanked me for being here, and I could tell the way she was looking at me in the eye and the way she was holding my hand that she really wanted me to get that message.
We went down.
Both Tony Gittins and Paul Devereaux welcome the changes as long as the city protects some longtime residents and workforce housing.
14th and U means a lot, meant a lot at that time in the black community.
Irritations and racial fears still remain from those days 40 years ago.
I got to tell you that there's a lot of division. There's a lot of racial division in this city.
But Gittins and others say many are not now as burdened with race as those terrible images 4 decades ago.
One of the things that happened during that time is that the police would, at one point, it seemed to me a policy decision they made, that folks could stay here and burn this up all they wanted. But if you tried to go downtown, is when they were going to stop you. That's when they were going to beat you back. But you could stay up here and tear it up this all you want. A sad state of affairs, just very sad. I'm glad it's in the past.